Jahmyr Gibbs is the number 41 player on my big board and my third-ranked running back in this class. He was a 4-star prospect who spent 2 years at Georgia Tech before transferring to Alabama for the 2022 season, where he became an AP third-team All-American. He is 5'9", 199 pounds, just over 21 years old, ran a 4.38 40 at the Combine, which is 97th percentile, and had an 8.03 overall relative athletic score. He had 926 rushing yards on 6.1 yards per carry, with 7 touchdowns on the ground in 2022. He also added 44 receptions for 444 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. On his career, he has 25 receptions of 15 or more yards, 39 forced missed tackles on receptions, and only 2 drops on 103 passes. As you can tell, he's a very good receiver. He runs routes well, and he's able to separate from coverage, and he has elite yak ability through his ability to make people miss. As a runner, he's got really good vision, and he's patient. He excels at setting up his blocks and then exploding through the hole for big gains. He's got very quick feet, and he's able to cut on a dime, change directions, hit that hole, and explode into the open field. As for his weaknesses, he is undersized at 25th percentile height, and it does show up in short yardage situations. I think Gibbs will need to be a rotational player or someone who is used a lot more in the passing game than he is, especially in short yardage situations. Because of his size, he routinely struggles in pass protection. He's not someone that you want trying to pick up linebackers coming off of the edge. He also had 4 fumbles on 383 carries at Georgia Tech, although he had none in 2022 at Alabama. I think Gibbs fits at the next level with a zone running team who will use their backs out of the backfield a lot. You want to get this guy 30, 40 receptions a year and see what he can do for you out of the backfield. That's going to be the best aspect of his game. John Michael Schmitz is the 42nd ranked player on my big board and my 7th ranked offensive lineman in this draft class. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school where he had a background as a wrestler. It took him a while to get on the field for Minnesota, but he took over the starting role near the end of 2019 and then started 36 games at center. He was second-team All-Big Ten in 2021 and first-team All-American in 2022, in addition to being a second-team academic All-American. He is 6'4", 301 pounds, and he has a 7.84 relative athletic score. In 2021, he surrendered only 5 pressures on 317 pass blocking snaps. And then in 2022, he posted a 92.3 PFF grade that was best among all centers. Schmitz is big and powerful in the running game and in his pass anchors. He also showed the ability to execute reach blocks well, where he can jump across the face of a defensive tackle and then seal them out of run plays going that direction. He has a high football IQ. He can just sense pressure, and he adjusts protections well on the fly before the snap. As for his weaknesses, he has limited functional athleticism, and that's not a huge thing, but he would likely struggle in like a wide zone rushing scheme where he's asked to get more out on the move. He also sometimes struggles to climb to the second level and hit moving targets because of that lateral mobility. And so, although he's more power than he is finesse, he'll also be 24 years old as a rookie, which isn't ideal, although at least he's not a project player. He's a pretty polished product. If your team needs a center, as long as you're not like a wide zone team, I think John Michael Schmitz is a great fit. Particularly if you're a power running style team that wants to task him with overpowering guys in the trenches and maybe pulling and hitting wham blocks or hitting the defensive end on the inside shoulder. That's something that John Michael Schmitz will do great for your team. Clark Phillips III is the 43rd player on my big board and my 10th ranked defensive back in this class. He was a 31-game starter with 9 career interceptions, 4 of which he returned for touchdowns at Utah. In 2022, he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. He is 5'9", 184 pounds, just over 21 years old, and he ran a 4.5 40 at the Combine with a 1.51 10-yard split. He knocked out 18 reps on the bench press, had a 33-inch vertical, and a 4.32 shuttle time. Overall, he ended with a 5.57 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 24 tackles, 6 interceptions, 6 passes defensed, and 2 touchdowns. Phillips is a twitched-up, explosive athlete. He mirrors routes really well with fluid transitions and agility. He also has exceptional ball skills. He had so many interceptions, so many plays on the ball in 2022, and really over the course of his career. And when he's unable to make a play on the ball, he's still very disruptive at the catch point, raking the receiver's arms, breaking up passes. However, he struggles as a tackler. He's a willing tackler, but he struggles due to his size and his frame, and so I'm not sure how much that can be coached up for him at the next level. Teams routinely targeted him in the running game, and he struggled to get off blocks and bring down ball carriers and get out on the edge. He played 374 snaps on the boundary, and he played 214 snaps in the slot. Now, his profile makes him a slot corner. He's small, 7th percentile height, 16th percentile weight, but his run defense might make him a boundary corner. You can't play in the slot in the NFL if you can't stick your nose in the fan and help stop the run. And so I think he fits in a lot of schemes. He could play man, he could play zone, but I'm unsure where he's going to settle in. He's going to have to improve his block deconstruction and tackling, or he's going to have to hang on the outside. And that's not something I'm positive that he can do. And so there's a lot of projection that goes in to Clark Phillips as a cornerback for your football team. Trenton Simpson is the number 44 player on my big board and my second-ranked linebacker in this class. He was a 5-star prospect, the number 1 ranked outside linebacker in his class coming out of high school, and he became a 3-year contributor for Clemson. He is 6'2", 235 pounds, and ran a 4.43 40-yard dash, which is 97th percentile at the combine. He also did 25 reps on the bench, which is 75th percentile. Overall, he had a 9.83 relative athletic score. In 2022, Simpson had 72 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 passes defensed, and 2 forced fumbles. Simpson is a very versatile player. In 2021, with Brent Venables as his defensive coordinator, he played safety, he played on the line, in the slot, and even as the will linebacker. Now, in 2022, with a new defensive coordinator, he was used much less creatively, and I think you saw a dip in his play because of that. He has tons of range in both the run and the passing game. He's an impressive athlete, as the combine testing showed, and he's a very reliable tackler who plays downhill with a lot of anticipation against both screens and in the run game. He has the athleticism to easily carry tight ends up the seam on vertical routes and over routes, and he can even run with slot wide receivers in man-to-man coverage. As for his weaknesses, he struggles to deconstruct blocks. His athleticism allows him to avoid a lot of blocks, but if you do stick him, he really struggles to get off. And I don't know where he's going to play. He regressed in 2022 when he was just asked to be an off-ball linebacker, and a lot of times NFL defenses don't like to be creative, and so you need to have a plan for how to use him if you're going to draft him. He also struggles to read out route combinations in zone coverage and relate to the keys in zone. Like, he hits his landmark, but then he sort of just stands there rather than attaching to a receiver. I think his best fit at the next level is as a will linebacker in a man cover heavy hybrid defense that will allow him to roam the field and play different roles. Sidney Brown is the number 45 player on my big board and my 11th ranked defensive back in this class. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and he and his twin brother Chase Brown, who plays running back, both committed to Illinois. Their dad also played 3 seasons in the CFL. He was a state finalist in high school in the 400 meter, the 4x400 meter, and the 4x100 meter. He was third team All-Big Ten in 2019, honorable mention All-Big Ten in 2021, and first team All-Big Ten in 2022. He is 5'10", 211 pounds, 23 years old, and he ran a 4.47 40 at the combine with a 40.5-inch vertical leap, and he also had 23 reps on the bench, which is 91st percentile. Overall, he had a 9.67 relative athletic score. In 2022, he notched 60 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 6 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and 7 passes defensed. He has a lot of positional versatility. Over the last 3 years, he took 387 snaps deep as a safety, 986 in the box, and 365 in the slot, and so you could use him in a variety of ways. He is a twitched-up athlete who shows explosiveness everywhere you look on his tape. He routinely will react to plays before his teammates do. He diagnoses things really quickly, and he also has good ball skills. He's good, as evidenced by his 7 passes defensed, his 6 interceptions. He will make plays on the ball. His absolute floor as a player is a good special teamer who plays in sub packages. As for his weaknesses, he's small and it impacts his ability to cover tight ends and to tackle running backs at times. He is a poor tackler. He's missed 15% or more of his tackle attempts every year of his career, and his athletic testing at the combine showed great agility, but on film he just doesn't change directions as well as you would like. I think his best scheme fit at the next level is a hybrid safety, sort of a move piece guy that you can use in different ways all around the formation to take the most advantage of his unique athletic gifts. Marvin Mims is the number 46 player on my big board and my 5th ranked wide receiver in this class. He set a Texas high school record for single season receiving yards as a senior when he had 2,629 yards and 32 touchdowns. Then he committed to the University of Oklahoma, where he had a good career, but he saved his best for 2022. He is just barely 21 years old. 5'11", 183 pounds. He ran a 4.38 40 at the combine, which is 90th percentile. He also had a 39.5-inch vertical leap, which is 89th percentile, and overall had a 9.93 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 54 receptions for 1,083 yards, which is 20.1 yards per reception and 6 touchdowns. He averaged 20-plus yards per reception in both 2021 with Caleb Williams as his quarterback and in 2022 with a different quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. He tracks the football really well, and he adjusts to it with excellent body control. He has a 51.5% reception rate on deep passes. I think he finds the holes in zone coverage, and he sight adjusts his routes really well. He also creates consistent separation with his route running savvy. He's got really good rack ability, and he also has experience as a punt returner. As for his weaknesses, he is undersized and he has a small wingspan. And he also didn't run from the most diverse route tree in college. He wasn't asked to do as many things in the OU offense. And similarly to Jalen Hyatt, he benefited from a spread offense in college that doesn't translate super well to the next level. I really like Marvin Mims as a player. I think he projects best to the next level as a slot receiver who you can also use as a vertical threat. It doesn't have to be all underneath two-way goes. You could even move him outside where he hasn't faced a lot of press coverage, but I think he can get around press coverage and still be a vertical threat for you if that's more what your team needs. Isaiah Foskey is the number 47 player on my big board and my 8th ranked edge rusher in this class. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school playing both defensive end and tight end before becoming a full-time defensive end in college. He holds the all-time sack record at Notre Dame with 25 sacks. He is 6'5", 264 pounds, 22 and a half years old. He ran a 4.59 40 at the combine, which is 91st percentile, and he had a 4.41 shuttle time, which was 46th percentile. Overall, Foskey had a 9.6 relative athletic score. In 2022, he recorded 44 tackles, 13.5 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 forced fumble. Foskey is explosive off the edge of formations. He's not super bendy to dip under tackles and get around the edge, but he transitions to power if he can't get the edge with speed. He's also a high motor player. He just has relentless pursuit of run plays from the backside. He's got a nice long arm rush move to keep offensive tackles off of his frame, He's also a special teams ace, which is a big deal for guys that are going to go on day 2 to get onto the field early. He even has 4 blocked punts in his career. And he is a very, very good tackler, only missing 1 tackle in the entirety of the 2022 season. As for his weaknesses, he was stonewalled by both Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones in 2022, and there are simply a lot more players of that caliber at the NFL level. He doesn't knock offensive tackles off their spot with his hands, and he gets stuck on blocks more often than you would like. He also really struggles as a front side run defender where he has trouble dropping anchor against double teams. I think he fits best at the next level as a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 outside linebacker, maybe some sort of hybrid defense. But you don't want to put him inside or even heads up on an offensive tackle. You want to get him out wider in space where he can use his speed and explosiveness and limit the opportunities to be double teamed. Jack Campbell is the number 48 player on my big board and my 3rd ranked linebacker in this class. He was a 2-sport athlete who had offers to play Division I college basketball, but chose football instead. He appeared in 11 games as a freshman and 5 games in the shortened 2020 season, before breaking out in 2021 when he led college football with 143 tackles. He won the Dick Butkus Award and was first-team All-American in 2022 when he also won the William V. Campbell Award, which is considered the academic Heisman Trophy. He is huge at 6'5", 249 pounds, which is 96th and 84th percentile respectively. He had an 84th percentile vertical jump, 94th percentile broad jump, 95th percentile 3-cone, and he ran a 4.65 40-yard dash. Overall, he had a 9.98 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 125 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 1 pass defensed, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 forced fumble. NFL linebackers are getting smaller and lighter every day, but somebody forgot to tell Jack Campbell. He is huge, and he is physical, and he loves to come downhill and hit guys. He diagnoses what he sees on the field really quickly, especially in the running game, and he triggers downhill. He made a big leap in coverage from 2021 to 2022, which is very key. Although he is going to struggle in man coverage, but he can play zone coverage in the flats and in the short middle areas of the field. He blew up the combine with his athleticism, but if I'm honest, you don't really see that on the tape. He's not particularly explosive and doesn't change direction super quickly. He'll also allow blockers to get into his frame, almost as if he invites the contact just because he wants to hit someone. He needs to punch and keep them at arm's length so he can get to the ball carrier better. He sheds the blocks well, but it's still wasted time, and he lets blockers come to him instead of throwing them aside. I think Campbell fits at the next level as a Mike linebacker in any scheme, someone who can come downhill and thump guys in the running game. Julius Brents is the number 49 player on my big board and my 12th ranked defensive back in this class. He signed with Iowa and started 5 games as a freshman in 2018, but in 2019 he redshirted after a knee injury, came off the bench in 2020 before transferring to Kansas State, where he was honorable mention All Big 12 in 2021 and first team All Big 12 in 2022. Brents is huge. At 6'3", he is 96th percentile height at cornerback, 198 pounds. He has 98th percentile arm length, 96th percentile vertical, 80th percentile shuttle times, and a 93rd percentile 3-cone. All in all, he has a 9.99 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 45 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, and 4 passes defensed. Brents is a physical corner who excels coming downhill against the run, and he excels against underneath passing concepts from off alignment. He uses his length really well when he is asked to press to disrupt wide receiver releases, but where he's best is reading route concepts from zone coverage or from off coverage and reacting to those appropriately. As for his weaknesses, as you would expect for someone his size, he's very slow to flip his hips when he's carrying vertical routes. He gives up separation while he's going through those transitions that he just doesn't have the long speed to make up. He will also get tunnel visioned at times on the quarterback and lose his receivers. I think he projects best to the next level as a zone cornerback, someone who can play from off coverage, keep his eyes on the quarterback and read and react. I also think he has potential safety versatility. He's a big hitter. He loves to trigger downhill. I think that could be really good for him. However, drafting him as a safety takes a lot of projection because he only played 5 snaps at safety in his career. But it is something that I think he could try to transition to if playing cornerback doesn't work out. Jordan Battle is the number 50 player on my big board and my 10th ranked defensive back in this class. He played over 50 games for Alabama, aligning at both free safety and strong safety, and also dropping down into the slot. He is 6'1", 209 pounds, ran a 4.55 40-yard dash, and overall had a 5.95 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 71 tackles, 1 interception, and 2 passes defensed. I think Battle is a fluid mover who can close distances quickly. He had good sprint times. His agilities are a little slow, but he does a good job of transitioning fluidly. He is a high IQ player who diagnoses route concepts very quickly, especially on screens, and he triggers downhill really quickly in the screen game and in the running game. He's such a savvy player that he's just rarely caught out of position in a situation where he doesn't know what to do. And he brings a lot of versatility. As I mentioned, he's played deep, he's played in the box, he's played in the slot, and he could be expected to do a bit of all of that in the NFL. As for his weaknesses, he does take bad angles in the running game at times, which leads to missed tackles. In his aggressiveness to trigger downhill, sometimes he doesn't take good angles. He also struggles in man coverage, especially against quicker slot receivers. And so if you want to put him in the slot, he's going to struggle against the real shifty guys. And finally, he doesn't really have center field range. Not that that matters a lot in today's NFL where teams are going more and more split field safety looks, but you don't want to ask him to play center field very often. I think his scheme fit at the next level is as a split field safety or a sub-package safety who's going to play in the box up near the line of scrimmage. I think that will suit his skills the best while protecting some of his lack of range deep down the field. And there you have it, my number 41 through 50 players on my big board ranked. If you are enjoying this content, please like and subscribe on YouTube, turn on notifications, share this content with a friend to help the channel grow. All of this will culminate in a live draft show on the Edge of Philly Sports YouTube channel for the first and the second rounds of the draft, so we hope to see you guys there.